Hello, and welcome back to the Joy Work Show. I'm Diane, your host, cheerleader, and occasional tough love truth teller. If this is your first time tuning in, the Joy Work Show is all about exploring the stories behind the work, the messy middles, the big breakthroughs, and the joy that keeps us going even on the toughest days. It's not about sugarcoating the entrepreneurial journey, what goes on in our businesses. It's about celebrating the realness of it all. Because let's face it, joy isn't just about rainbows and good vibes. Often the greatest joy comes after the greatest challenges. And today we're going straight in with our first guest episode, who's a truly, truly inspiring guest who has personally had an impact on my business journey and I hope continues to do so. I had the absolute pleasure of sitting down with Claire Hill, powerhouse of resilience, wisdom, and creativity. Claire is a self-belief and business coach. Her journey started in social work and took a beautiful transformative turn. She helps entrepreneurs to not only believe in themselves, but thrive. And I want you to hear it in her own words of how she describes what she does. In our conversation, we unpacked so much. Claire's journey of overcoming personal trauma, how she balances mental health with the demands of entrepreneurship, and her insights into the role of joy in both life and business. Claire and I talked about how joy isn't just something you stumble across, it's something you create, often in the wake of adversity. Whether it's through collaboration, self-reflection, or simply choosing to show up every day with courage, joy is always within reach. This is the kind of conversation that reminds you why you started your journey in the first place and gives you the tools to keep going even when the road feels hard. Trust me, you're going to leave this episode feeling energized and maybe even a little bit invincible. But as I said, I want you to hear about it in Claire's words. So let's go. Hi, Claire, and welcome to the Joy Work Show. I am so excited to have you here. I've been on your podcast, I am in your world, and I am bursting with excitement and super nervous about this one today. So before I do burst with excitement, I'm going to hand over to you and you can let us know who you are, what you do, and how you got here.
It makes me feel weird that you feel nervous because I'm just like, it's just me.
It's just you, and it's just me. And we've had loads of conversations. It's
We
just
have.
there's going to be other people listening in this time.
Yeah, so my name is Claire Hill. I am a self-belief and business coach, and I work with online business owners with a warrior spirit. And I teach business tools, productivity hacks, and mindset shift to support them to believe that anything is possible and make things inevitable, just like you started this podcast. Yeah, I freaking love what I do. I am the founder of the Vivid Business Club, and I'm the host of No Rest for the Vivid podcast. And I have a wonderful dream team mastermind. I have a mastermind called the Dream Team. I've got a productivity course, and I'm writing a book. Anything else?
Wow.
Yeah, that's it.
Anything,
I'm
just
a
a
mum and all
couple of
that.
other things. If you could throw a couple of other things in, that would be all right.
Yeah, I'll probably come up. I've probably forgotten something.
You
I
definitely
like to fill
will.
my plate.
So how did you get here? How did you get to this point of building this vivid business?
Right, so do you know, when I do a podcast, I ask this question, as you know, and people go, "Oh, I'll give you the short version," and I'm like, "No, give me the long
No,
version. I
give
want
me
to know
all.
all
Give
the
me the
ins and
juice.
outs."
Give me the
Yeah,
love. Give me the
yeah,
story.
that's what I'm going to give. So once upon a time, there was a little girl. No, so I started in adult social work, really working in social care with adults with learning disabilities, and I got that job through my first boyfriend's mum. And she is a significant person. I did write about her on the form. Her name's Maz. And she, from having a really rough beginning, it was incredibly rough. I was like Aladdin, like some kind of street urchin. And then I get sort of discovered by her, like some diamond in the rough. And it was just wonderful. And she was just like, you're pretty cool. Obviously her son had seen that because he was going out with me, but it was a different kind of thing. It was a different, like, there's something about you. And at that point, I was giving up. Like, I was 16. I was like, I'm going into sixth form because I should I really can't be arsed. I don't want to be at school. I don't want to learn. I probably at that point, I just want to drink and just forget about what's going on. So it was that tipping point of understanding how bad things were and actually just starting to give up. I'd been living in my nana and granddad's for a little while. And I couldn't do that anymore. Well, no, I did go back there actually. So it was just a really tough time. And she just was like, and I'd had this thing in my head from a very young age about no matter how your heart is grieving, if you keep on believing, a dream that you wish will come true. It's from Cinderella. And there's this Matilda book as well, like Matilda by Roald Dahl. And those two things together just made me go, I just, maybe it'll be all right. Maybe it'll be all right. So I just kept going and going and going. And then I just, at 16, can I swear or not swear?
Of course
Where
you
are you
can.
at with
Of course you can.
I was just like,
Swearing.
fuck it. I was literally just, I just started getting into loads of trouble at school, bunking off and doing all the rest of it. And she said to me, and to the point when I was almost kicked out because I got into, this is hilarious, the local radio station was at school, like doing a road show. So I bunked this lesson and I ended up on the stage in the paper. Thing is, the paper literally came out the next day as well. And I remember thinking, I am going to be in big trouble. And I ran straight to my granddad Fred, and go, Granddad, I might have done something a bit naughty, but this is the thing. I've actually ended up on the newspaper and I got on and he was like, old, sort of basically a Londoner. Don't worry, girl, it will all work out. Don't worry. And then it didn't because I got into so much trouble, bunked my A-level exam in chemistry practical. I just bunked the whole exam and they'd spent so much time looking for me. I was on the freaking stage in the hall with the year 12s. So they didn't look far, obviously. But anyway, that was sort of like a really pivotal thing where they were like, if you don't sort yourself out, you're not staying here. And I think I had a bit of a wake-up call. So I had to do all of this extra stuff. And anyway, then another teacher said to me, what are you going to do? I'm not going to university. I just need money. I just need to get out of where I am. And he knew what was going on. And he said to me, but university, you'll be able to leave more quickly. Like you can move out. I was like, oh yeah. So I went and got a degree, health services management, because I wanted to go into adults with learning disabilities. Got that degree, came out, worked with vulnerable adults, and I was managing homes as well with adults with learning disabilities and physical disabilities. Went back to working in the community and managing teams, and then I was made redundant. And I was like, I know, I'll become a teacher. And so I'd had this
As you do.
extensive career, as you do. Educating Essex was on, so I thought, do you know what, that looks quite good. And it's very frustrating to work with adults that are already down that path, to turn them around. It is incredibly, with the adults I was working with, this isn't just mindset shifts. This is, severe mental health difficulties, drug addictions, alcohol addictions on the streets. Like, it is tough. It's possible,
Mhm.
but it is tough. And I thought, what if I go into secondary school and I can get to them earlier and support them there? And so I wrote to 40 schools across the county, just going, do you want a teacher? This is what I was doing. I'd already started a business at that point. I'd had I think that was like my third play business. I'd already had 2 businesses before that I'd like messed about with. And so then I had this other business and it had done really well. I'd got some work with a shoe designer. I was making this jewellery and wedding accessories. I was in stock, like stockist, and I was just doing it as a hobby. And I thought, oh my God, I just loved having my own business, really loved it. But I didn't have, and I had gone self-employed, but this was before Instagram even existed. I was up and
Uh-huh.
down the high street selling my stuff in the fairs, in the craft fairs. So it's like, when we're talking in the Vivid Business Club and they're talking about, I'm like, I know, it's hard. When you learn how to market something without the use of social media, I think it does give you a bit of a different edge because you're basically begging. It's just like,
It also gives you perspective, because so many people like
I know.
moan about social media and the algorithms and
Yeah.
all the rest, and you're just like, it's free. It is a platform.
Yeah.
Be on there, be seen, be visible, and talk about it, because people 20 years ago would like bite your hand
Right.
off to
Absolutely.
be.
And I think it's also to do about profit margins as well, because I'm trying to sell, it's wholesale. And you can direct those sales to your own platform, your website. You can learn to direct that traffic, and your margins go up by like 30%, like that, just because it's coming from your stuff. It's just boring. It's just really boring.
To create content is boring. It is just to keep going and it's relentless, but people want it to be easy and people want it to be, it can be simple, but yeah, they just want the kind of easy way round, and there is no such thing.
Path of least resistance, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So yeah, where was I on that? I'm
Up and
going
down,
around the houses with this
and down
story,
the
aren't I?
street, selling your wares.
Yeah, selling my wares. So I sort of said, look, I can teach health and social care because that's my degree and I've got a vast amount of experience in it. I can also teach a bit of business because I've been running my own business for, like, at that point I was running it for about 3 or 4 years. Or I could teach maths because I really love maths. And so this had got one phone call back, and I got invited in, taught unqualified for a year. Then they paid for me to do my training, trained to be health and social, went like immediately into maths as soon as I could, because you get the core subjects. Like, there's a different job security. I was always just after this job security, but I always wanted to do a master's degree. And this master's degree, I just found it in leadership of inclusion. And I chose to specialise in social, emotional, and mental health as a vulnerability, as like a special educational need, not just though I know a lot about autism or on the spectrum, the ADD, ADHD, all of the oppositional, all of those, all of them, all of the things. I all know that. But I was like, well, what about if a child that, like I was, is finding things tough, they are learning in a different way. And in a really brief outline of what was going on at home, my mum and my dad died when I was 8, and I'm very quickly heading to the age he was when he passed away. So that's a spin out.
Wow, yeah.
My mum, there was me and my 2 sisters, younger sisters. My dad had 2 other children from another marriage. And my mum was pregnant, 2 months pregnant with my brother when he passed away. My mum, as a result, I think there was stuff going on anyway. She became really ill and I was a young carer. So from 8 years old, I was looking after my mum, looking after my sisters. When my brother was born, I was looking after him, and things were just horrible. We just had no money. It was horrible. So I was like, what about these kids that are going through that? Because I think people were aware of what was going on, but it weren't like now. 100% not like how we were trained to do it. So I started this master's degree, and then in my research thought, what if teachers get that support to increase their capacity to enable them to be more supportive of children that are experience trauma, like little traumas or big traumas, for anything like that? Would those teachers be able to have the capacity to support their development in a better way, and not be so reactive and thinking about their nervous system as well as the child's? And so from that came my work on warrior energy. And so I was applying that. So I was applying that. So that's part of the story. While I was an assistant head, got married in 1 year, got engaged, moved, married, pregnant in 1 year.
Well done.
Yeah, in 364 days, just done it all in a year. And so then I got pregnant, and then I had this year off. And while I was off, there was something that just went, oh my God, I just need to start making. Violet and May had gone, because you cannot run a business well, not like I was with Violet and May. It was different kind of setup with that business model. Couldn't do it. But then Vivid Wire was born, and Vivid Wire has been this gateway into everything else. So then I learned social media, marketing, business model, scaling, semi-passive income, passive income, how to deliver online workshops, to teach again. So I did all of that. And then all of a sudden, and my energy started, I left the job, I had another job to go to, and it just all fell through. And my husband was like, but you've got Vivid Wire. By that point, I was turning over about £3,000 a month, and I was working full time, and I was doing my master's degree, and still breastfeeding my baby like a nutter, absolute nutter at that point, because I was getting up and doing it all. And he was like well over a year. I think it was like 15 months old. It's like, But anyway, each to their own. I shouldn't have been doing all of that for me. And I was burning out quick. So Dan was like, you've got vivid wire. Like, what if you put all your energy into it? And that was 2020. And yeah, and then my energy started, my mental health started to be really impacted because all of a sudden I wasn't busy anymore. So I couldn't be distracted by everything that was going on. And it was a tidal wave of doubt and criticism. And as you know, I teach about doubt having a name.
Yeah.
So mine's called Clara. Oh my God, the paralyzing nature of that criticism that I was doing to myself, how much I was beating myself up because I couldn't not face it anymore. And I think as entrepreneurs and business owners, this is why it's so, so important with mindset, because you don't have a handle on it. You can't get away from it. There's no like Bob in HR telling you have to do something. You have
No.
got to deal with this shit. And it was incredibly paralyzing. 2020 was a huge, obviously it was lockdown as well, but for the business, it was phenomenal. Like I was earning loads of money. Vivid Wire was doing incredibly well. And just off the back of that, I started the workshops, which did incredibly well. So the business was doing amazing. And I felt like shit again. I was like, hold on, I'm living my life. I'm living my best life here. I remember getting, when I went back to school and I got my first mug with the old logo on, going, one day I made a little boss sign, one day I'll work for myself. It was all go down the Swanee. I was like, this is what is going on. Warrior energy came in and I applied everything in my research to my mental health. And then I used all of the productivity tools that I had been adapting and learning through the years that I taught as well to kids, and doing more all the management stuff in the school. You need to be on top of productivity, and it all came together and I started feeling freaking amazing. And then people were going, what, how do you do it all? How do you look, why are you feeling so good? And there's people started talking to me about tips and stuff. I didn't know what coaching or mentoring or anything like that was. I was just in a business membership for businesses like mine, and it was shit. It was so shit. It made me feel so inadequate, made me feel incredibly small. I didn't feel part of anything. I just knew that I didn't want to be lonely. And I looked forward to that 1 hour a week where I had structure to my day and I felt like I was part of something, but I walked away feeling hardly inspired at all. And then there was a conversation I watched on that session, and somebody said, I'm thinking about becoming a coach or a mentor. How do you go about it? Because the person who ran the membership did that. She was coaching or whatever. And this woman goes, and people listening, there were some people in the Vivid Business Club who came from there because of they felt the same as me. These are like the OGs. And this woman was just like, you can't do that because of this and this. Just got her dream and just went. I was like, who do you think you are?
She just didn't want the competition.
Didn't want the competition. And I think I watching it thinking, you've just literally squashed that woman. And she's paying you money to be inspired and motivated and lifted up. You've just squashed her like an ant. I'm not having that. So I thought, I'm going to go and do that. And I did. And I just sent an email out to my Vivid Wire mailing list going, I'm thinking about doing some mentoring. You weren't allowed to call yourself a coach unless you got this qualification, bish, bash, bosh, whatever. And I was like, this is what this other woman said. And I just let out and went, I'm going to give some free sessions away. Would you like them? Who would like them? And I just got so many emails back.
Yeah.
Did 3. But the first person I saw went, I need you in my life. How much is a program? And I was like, it's this. And then I signed up I was just like saturated all of the podcasts and training I could. Signed up to my first mastermind, which was actually a bit shit, but it showed me how to scale more of the service-based stuff.
Yeah.
Which was really important. And then the Vivid Business Club was born, and the end. That's it. Done. We're now
There's
few years
so many
later.
points I want to pick up on. So tell everybody what Vivid Wire was.
So Vivid Wire was my wire art business, and I created bold, colourful wire art. And I've done some huge pieces, like massive pieces, and 2 tiny little things. And I can draw better in wire than I can with a pencil. And I don't know why I can, but I can write neater in wire as
The
well.
reason I wanted to
Weird.
ask what Vivid Wire, obviously I know what Vivid Wire is, I'm in your world, but the reason I wanted to bring that up is so often, like, you're a really creative person.
Mm.
Like, you do have that creativity, and I think lots of business owners do. I'm a
Oh, yeah.
strategist, I'm a data girl, that's my thing, but that's kind of where I find my creativity. There's little other elements as
Yes.
well, but you're creative the way that people would see creative, making things, doing things with your hands, that type of thing. And I think so often people think that you can't be both. You can't have the creativity side of things and have that business acumen, business sense. And actually, that is not true, because
Mm-hmm.
so many creative people are building their businesses. And what I love when you're talking to your clients who are creative businesses, product based businesses, is training them to have that mindset to be a business owner and not
Mm.
still be the creative person, still be the person that creates that. But you also have to be all of these things too. You have to be the CEO, you have to do all of those things.
Mm.
You embody both of those things 100%
Yeah.
and
I
love
think
both
it's
of those things.
I think it's really important. One success thing I have is that I have successfully built product and service based businesses, but that is because I see my services as products and I saw my products as services. And I
Hmm.
think that all of them are the same. There is more in that transaction than you could ever possibly imagine for the person taking it from them. So whether I'm selling a coaching package or selling a piece of art, that person, there is a transformation. And I know everyone says this and people think it's bullshit, but there isn't, because there is a transformation in that transaction, whether they are putting something in their home to feel really proud of a wall and to significant. I mean, I've copied people that have passed away, their handwriting out of a birthday card and made it into a piece of art. Like I did my own dad's, like that. It felt like a bit of him came back to life. And that power, that is wonderful. And I want to help more people with that. You cannot help more people without charging the right amount of money and showing up. And it's the
Hmm.
same with with coaching. I saw the other day about this price of, about coaching, but it's the transformation that that person has and how their life and their brain changes. Like that is a friggin' off the scale kind of change in the world. And I know that the more I am showing up, the more I'm helping people and I'm growing my business, the more opportunity I get to help so many people.
Hmm.
Like, that I raise money for Winston's Wish all of the time. I'm not saying that to blow my own trumpet, but that's a really important value to me in my business, that I'm able to give profits to a charity that gives hope to grieving children. Like that is incredibly significant to me. We've got
Of
the
course.
charity, Susie's charity in the Vivid Business Club, the Daisy charity, which I'm a trustee of, and I've supported the growth of that charity over the 3 years. That's why I do business. It's like this is to change lives, and you can do that with art.
Hmm.
It's so significant how much joy, and this is where the warrior energy comes from. And I bang on about joy all the time. This is like joy,
Absolutely.
joy, joy, just same as you. The more joy, the more love and energy and magic that you put into something, the more magic and energy and joy people get from it. And the reason my businesses have been successful is because you can tell I freaking love what I do. There are
Like,
always challenges.
hmm,
Like,
like it just jumps out of you how passionate you are about what you do.
yeah, and I love it. I recognise my magic and that I don't know actually how to do anything else now. This is it, as well as like writing. But it's going, I am here to be my most vivid self. And if I do not do that, there are people in the world that have a lesser life. And that's not me going, I'm the saviour, I'm like Jesus Christ, nothing like that. Because everybody in the entire world has magic and joy that they get to share, that lights up a darker corner of the world. Their light will shine something. And it's about just being, and it takes time. And this is the thing, like I'm talking about a journey that I've taken. Bloody hate that. I've taken work really hard. Every single day, I have to work on my mental health. I have to, because otherwise I will be wonky. I talk about this all the time. I will have a wonky day. Sometimes, because of the trauma I've experienced, I will have a trigger and it disrupts my nervous system, and I have to actively be aware of it and work on it. So I'm not the a lucky one or any. I don't believe in luck. I believe in hard work and choosing what I want most instead of what I want right now, and that's choosing usually the most difficult path. And I get really annoyed with myself sometimes, because the other night I was like, I can't remember, I left something downstairs and I knew it would make my life easier in the morning, but I could not be bothered to go down. And I was like, oh, fucking got to look after my future self. Who the fuck talks about talking about future self? Bloody me. I was getting annoyed with myself, because there's a part of me, like my intuition going, but you should really be looking after your future self. Like, shut up.
But
So
you're
yeah.
fully transparent with that. You don't
Yeah.
tell people, business owners, people you speak to find their warrior energy, to work on their self-belief and doubt, to look after their future selves, and then say that you're not still doing it. You don't
Oh
say
yeah,
that you're
no,
showing
yeah.
up as the finished article. Like, I've done it all, so now you want to be like me. You're not doing that. You're saying, this is what I do every freaking day to show
Yeah.
up as this.
Yeah.
Every day.
Every day. And I wish, and some days I get really upset, because why does it have to be this hard to be this happy in a way? Like, and I'll be fully transparent with you, because this morning I've had like a little bit of a wobble, because I've just really missed my dad today, which I won't say anymore, because I just thought I'll start crying. And it's just that thing of, it's just shit. It's just
Yeah.
shit. Like some of the pain that I've experienced. But I've got to be really grateful all at the same time, even though it's really horrible. And I wish it wasn't this hard, and I wouldn't be this person without it. And I have to, like, I think I shared last week, I'd gone through a little bit of a wobble and felt loads of discomfort. And that is because I'm writing a book. Like, it's my dream, and it is hard work to write a book and like keep believing people are actually going to read it. But does it matter? No, I'm writing it for me, but writing it knowing I've got a deadline and I want to have it written before my birthday, and that's just over a month, so I've got to get it done. So I knew that the discomfort was the fear of success, of realizing the dreams, sitting going, I feel so uncomfortable, and I'm so grateful for this discomfort, because it feels so horrible, but I know that there's only one way through it. And people think, oh, that's a load of bullshit, but it's not. Like,
It isn't.
it's completely not. You have to go through these things, especially as a business owner. And if you avoid them, you are not being brave enough, and you're not reaching your potential.
No. And you'll just sit and moan that you're stuck and that you're not.
Absolutely.
So just
Yeah.
on that point, and on the full transparency point, and about what you said about the membership that you joined that was horrible, full transparency here is hashtag collaboration over competition is thrown about on social media like
Yeah.
you wouldn't believe. And there is very few people that walk the talk, as far as I can see, or what I've seen so far. And I
Mm.
just wanted to tell everybody who's listening to this that you absolutely do, because you have a membership that is for business owners. And those of you who are in my world know that I now have a membership for business owners. And I was
Yeah.
chatting to Claire about things I wanted to do in my business, and said, well, it could be this and it could be that, and I want this and I want that, and I'm working towards this and I'm working towards that. And she went, well, why haven't you done the membership? And I went, and I literally didn't have anything to say. And within 3 weeks, I had a membership straight after
Yeah.
it.
Keeps you
So
right up the arse.
you absolutely did. And that's why I came to you, because I needed somebody to do to me what I do for other people. We all need
Yeah.
people. We all need support. Doesn't matter how together other people think that we have it. And that for me that's truly collaborative. You weren't sitting there thinking, do you know what? I'm going to push her just towards doing a course because I
Do
don't
you
want her
know,
to do
this
a
is the
membership.
first
I'm
time
just going to.
yeah, I've not even realised that we both sell the same thing until just now. So now, no, I
No,
didn't even
podcast
think that
over.
would big competition because I just don't believe it's the right, like, I just don't believe in competition. You got to stay in your own lane.
You've got to stay in your own lane, and people will,
Yeah.
particularly in what we do, I think people buy from people, whether
Yeah.
it's a coaching program or whether it's windows for their house. I
Yeah.
really, really do believe it's totally from people. And I think that there's people who will want to work with you and there's people who will want to work with me. And there might be people that want to work with both. And how bloody wonderful is that? So I don't think, but I just wanted to put it out there because I think people talk about this collaboration over competition and you don't see it that often unless it's mutually beneficial. But in that conversation, there was no mutual benefit to be had. We weren't getting on a stage together. We weren't doing something together. We weren't sharing each other's audiences. It was a conversation between two business owners, two coaches, two mentors. And you just said to me, why aren't you doing it? And I couldn't answer it because the reason I came to
Yeah.
you was my doubt, was my fears. She's called Rachel. She's horrible.
Yeah,
And she
right.
sits on my shoulder all the time. Sorry, all the Rachels out there. It really isn't a personal thing. I do know some lovely, lovely Rachels. But yeah, so it's all of those things, but it is just about that truly collaborative space. And I think if there was more of it in the online sphere, we would all get on a hell of a lot better.
And
So,
I really appreciate you saying that because I've not even acknowledged that that's what I did. But yeah, I get it. Well done, me. I didn't even.
but but it just shows you because you saw somebody ask somebody for help on that way and they got shot down and
Oh
you got
yeah,
yourself out of
yeah. I
that
see.
space.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's where that hashtag comes from. That group.
Is it?
Yeah. I'll have to
Wasn't
tell
that
you off
ironic?
there. Yeah, another little bit of a gut. No, we won't. It's unprofessional,
Well,
but maybe we will.
anyway.
But no, I think I recently heard of a story that really upset me about another coach, and I think it's one thing I think I worry about, that there are people out there taking the absolute piss and not respecting the. I suppose it's not but the. Well, I think when you invest in a coach or a membership, you are really like that's your not just anybody's money, that's your hard-earned money, like, and
Mhm.
I really worry about people that don't respect that or truly are grateful and ruining it for the rest of us
Yeah.
who just really want to help people and really get them to where they're supposed to be and be people's champion. And there's people out there just doing the frigging money. Like money, I want to make money, obviously. Like I'm going to tell everyone to make money. I will teach you how to make as much money as possible. But it's got to be at the core of it. What's your reasoning? Like, what's your mission?
Hmm.
And I just do not like seeing somebody where I can see their magic, I can see what makes them special, and they be held back by something that is lying to them and it's in their own brain. Like, I'm never having that. I'm just so if I sit and with you, I was like, nah, come on, let's get it done. Because there's just too much good here. It's the same with this podcast. Too much good. Get it out there. Come on.
Exactly. Exactly. Right, so let's move on to our little joys, to the things that I ask you to bring to the podcast to kind of show people that joy can be found in the most unexpected places in all of these places. And I've read through yours and I love them all. We've touched on a little hint of a few of them as you were talking, as you would, because you put joy at the heart of everything that you do too. So the first one is the joy spotlight. So a thing that has shaped your life, business, or work.
I can't remember what I put, babe. I'm so
You
sorry.
put
Literally,
you've
I
actually already
literally filled this
mentioned
in a couple of hours ago, didn't
you've
I?
put what you spoke about earlier about the Cinderella song.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah,
seeing all the good and believing.
yeah. I think that the thing that really shaped me, I remember reading Matilda, and it was such a significant book for. I think I was 7 when I read it for the first time, realizing that it didn't always have to you didn't have to see your life as just bad, even if there was lots of bad in it. And also that books could save you. In my
Mm.
head at 7, I was like, Matilda goes to all these different places through a book. I wonder where I can go. And just my love of reading just started. Like I just adored reading and would just be in the library all the time. But that I remember repeating again and again. I'd write again and again. And the one thing as well that's really helped me to keep anchored to who I am, because, and I talk about this a lot in with my self-belief stuff, is when you don't have anyone else to really believe in you, there is only one person that can believe in you, and that is you. And so I had to become my best friend. I don't know where I would be if I hadn't done that. And that was through writing. And I've got this thing about not saying journaling. I don't know why. I think it was always because I used to say I'm writing in my diary. So maybe that's where it is from. But
Mm.
I started a diary just before my dad passed away. And so I was just 8 when I started writing in it. And it became a massive tool to process what was going on, and talk about it, but also know who I was. Now that has got wishy-washy over the years, but leaning into that, and there's a practice I do called the morning pages, and I do it almost every day, 3 A4 pages. It's not a business. As somebody said, one client said, I don't like doing it because it feels like work because I'm talking about the business, but I see it as my anchor to who I am. And I cannot believe in myself as much as I need to show up without anchoring to like who I am, what I need to do. So I would repeat that song, a dream is a wish your heart makes, those lyrics again and again and again to reaffirm, like, even if I'm grieving, even if I'm hurting and my heart's breaking, as long as I keep believing that something good is going to come, something will. And I just repeat myself. God, it was hard sometimes because I'd be like, there's nothing. I'm going to have a horrible life forever. And then what happened, one really cool thing that happened was I split up with somebody and I was living on my own. My little house rabbit Sugar had died, and I was just on my own in this flat thinking, about to be made redundant. I was like, business wasn't going well with Violet and May. I was like, literally, what's the point? And I was like, right, I need to sort of channel my energy here. I'm going to write a list of the only man I'm ever going to go out with ever again. I'm going to write a list. And if that list isn't ticked off, I'm going to become a mum. I'm going to stay in this tiny flat. Literally, I had the tiniest little flat. I'm going to stay in here till I'm 99 and who cares? So I was like that. Wrote this list. About 2 weeks later, Dan walked in, was the list, asked me out, bish bash bosh. That's quite cute.
That is
So,
amazing. So do you
yeah.
believe in manifestation then?
I believe in controlling your energy to thinking something's going to happen and working at it. I do not believe in going, I want like just wishing. I
Yeah.
feel like you have to construct your energy, but I do. When I say I'm going to do something, it happens, and
Yeah.
it always has. So when I'm like, I'm going to write a book, it happens. Like, I'm going to be a millionaire, it's going to happen. Like, I know these things are going to happen. And like I said to you about getting married and engaged, like he put the ring on my finger and I was like, right, we need to get a new house because our house is too small. Found the perfect house. I knew exactly where I wanted to live and found a house there that we could afford, and we went in. And I was like, I need to be married this year. October's good. Let's do it cheap on a Monday, get it done. And we'll be pregnant by Christmas. And everyone was like, shut up. I was like, you watch. And it did.
So where do you think the childhood and the trauma that you went through, obviously I know that you think that that's where your resilience and your trust in yourself comes from, but what is the difference between you and somebody who allows that trauma to stop them rather than start them?
I think there's power in releasing the shame of that pain that you feel, and feeling inadequate because of the pain. And that was a big shift when I was doing my masters, realizing that I was carrying all this shame about what makes me really vulnerable, when actually it is what makes me beautiful,
Mm.
not from the outside, from the inside. And that was incredible. I remember writing it in my dissertation, going, shit, what if every child that is going through something really rough right now, what if they focus on the fact they're going to survive it, instead of the fact that they've been through it. And all of a sudden, I had just this strength going, I'm a freaking warrior. And this is why it's called warrior energy. Like, I am a warrior because I got through all of that. And that
Mhm.
is incredible. But I definitely chose for it not to be what I was going to be known for.
Mhm.
And I had this thing recently thinking, when Jackson talks about me when he's grown up, about my mum, he's not going to say, because I always had this identity of, oh yeah, Claire, it's so sad. You know, it would be that, like, I've got, like, what was going on and everything was, oh, so sad. But he's never going to go, oh, my mum had a really rough childhood. He's going to be like, my mum's like a really successful business owner and author. And I was like, oh my God, I've literally rewritten. The same was like, you know, my sisters and my brother, and I know that I supported them to see what was possible, but I just kept thinking about that song going, but if I just keep believing, I think some people, and what I learn now about it, and I'll talk about that in a second, but I think people think that they don't want to be let down by the idea
Mhm.
of it all not happening. But it takes the same amount of energy to worry that something bad is happening than to worry something or think about something good happening. I would rather use my energy feeling good about what could happen than bad about what won't happen. Like, I would rather do that. And that's where the energy, warrior energy, you transfer it into a warrior energy. And that day when I was like, if I'm feeling this shit, if I transfer that energy into thinking like I'm a warrior, I feel pretty good. Like, I feel pretty strong and amazing because of that. But it's definitely a decision to say, you know, you get to choose. You really do get to choose what happens in your story, and you get to be the author. It's when you decide that someone else has the power of that. And I was done. Like, I'm my own, whatever's happened, I'm writing my story now, and I want it to be a really bloody good one.
Amazing. I absolutely love that. And I love the fact that it is down to choices and
Yeah.
actions. And I don't think people realize that they do have a choice to make a change. It might not be easy, it might not be a straightforward path. It will take work, like you say, every single day, but there's definitely choices that can be made. So that leads us on to the inspired by joy. So the person or the book, but you've actually mentioned people that have influenced you, being a bit of a mentor type to you. And you've spoke about an ex-boyfriend's mum. You have already
Yeah.
mentioned that today. And you spoke about
And
Tina
Tina
Turner.
Turner. And Tina Turner, when I'm struggling, I always go, what would Tina do? Because Tina was like 45 when she became really, really successful. Tina Turner, if anyone needs to learn about Tina Turner, there is a documentary on Sky. It is phenomenal, but I love her. I love her grit, her determination, her decision to write her own story, the way she wrote her songs, the way she performed, how she was most herself. She had a very similar mum to what I had. So that was really inspirational when I learned about that. But like, what would Tina do? Tina would bloody keep going, so that's amazing. And
Well,
then
she
obviously,
never
yeah,
stopped.
yeah. God, I love her so much. Like, literally love Tina Turner. But yeah, and then the other person was Maz. It's just I always text me like, I've talked about you in another podcast. He's like, all
So
right.
for Maz, was the fact that, was she the first person who you felt saw you, heard you, believed in you?
Yeah, my granddad Fred did really believe in me actually, but it was different coming from Maz because my granddad, it was sort of like, oh yeah, he says that for everybody. So I had a very close relationship with him, and again, I just adored him. Got a picture of him over there actually. Like, I just like loved him, and he was important because he really loved the fact I liked working hard. He had a really strong work ethic. So in his head, he was like, she's working really hard. So therefore, I'm really proud. And I do think that he obviously thought there was more to me than just working hard. But what Maz saw in me was that it wasn't just like I'm your granddaughter, I love you. She was like, oh, there's something there. You're like, I didn't feel worthy at that point in my life at all. Like I feel really bad to my actually all of my boyfriends before I met Dan, because I feel like I absolutely destroyed every single one of those relationships because of my behavior and my self-sabotage. Like I just, and especially with Greg, like I just needed to be miserable because that's what my doubt and my, you know, my ego was used to. And I talk about this having that misery as familiar. And so you seek it and you create it if you can't find it. And that's all I did, just self-sabotage, so it was just awful. So poor Greg. And then, but Maz was just saw that I was enough. I didn't have to, but I mean, the fact that she saw that, well, I was 16 at that point. I mean, it didn't click in what that meant until I was working on my own. So like, till I was like 35. But she's still there. She's still like, and she came to my wedding, and in my speech, I was like, "Thank you, Maz, for everything. You know, I dumped your son, and you still you came to my wedding. Like, you're still friends with me." Luckily, like me and him have actually started chatting again, which is really cool because he's a DJ, and I just love what he's doing. But it's, you know, I think it's just that process of somebody seeing that maybe you've got something to give,
Mm-hmm.
like. And I think I just needed that. So yeah, she's phenomenal influence in my life.
It's amazing, and it's so often. And actually, I recorded a podcast earlier today, and it was with a sleep coach, so couldn't be further away. But we ended up talking about that ultimately, children, babies, adults, we all just want to be seen and heard. We all
Yeah,
just want to be seen and heard and supported a little bit. And we find those people that do that for us, it can be a wee bit of magic. And
yeah,
obviously, that's what Ma's done for you. Okay.
yeah.
And then the joy killers, the things you would rather not see in the world. Because let's face it, joy is a wonderful thing, but there is things that completely zap the joy out of everything. And yours are absolutely brilliant. And I couldn't agree more. One of them will make me move if I'm sat next to somebody when they're doing it. So,
I thought you were gonna say the eating thing, but I thought you
oh,
meant
it is the
oranges
eating
then.
thing.
Oh
It is
yeah.
the eating thing. I can't stand people. Anyway, so you've said three things.
Mm-hmm.
Can you remember them?
Oranges,
Yeah.
people eating with their mouth open.
Yeah.
I can't remember the first one.
The one was the one was probably more in line with what we're talking about. The people that choose
Oh,
to stay in their misery when there is a way out, when there is that choice, when there is
yeah,
that choice.
yeah. I think it's really difficult. Like sometimes there, you know, people that have been through the same as me who just love using it as an excuse. I can't. I really believe there's a workaround for every excuse, and that is very controversial. And I do appreciate that it is, but I live in a everything is possible way of living. And I've worked with people with like the needs. I was talking about this on a podcast recently. You know, Ro,
Yeah,
my mate Ro. We're
yeah,
talking about it because her son is physically disabled, and talking about this girl Zoe that I used to work with, and she had suffered meningitis at 13, and her brain swelled so much that the top of her spinal cord was crushed, which meant she was paralyzed from the chin down. So she could only move her eyes and her mouth. That was it. That's all she could move. And she wanted to move house and live, like she'd got to, I think she was about 23 or 24 at the time. She was like, look, I love my mum, but I really don't want to, I really don't want to live with her anymore. And I was like, okay. And I just had this thing of like, of anybody you think you can't live on their own. And obviously she was savvy enough. She had to have two cares for her all the time. But to think this could be possible that she could live on her own.
hmm
So I was like, I'm after this. So I went for it. I wrote to the newspapers, all the housing associations, like I literally everything that I could think of to get this girl this house to this flat. In the end, managed to get her one round the corner from her mum's. So her mum was a little bit like, oh, okay, fair enough. But knowing, and she's passed away now, and she honestly, the spirit of her going, all right, fair enough. I literally can only move my eyes and mouth. but I deserve to live on my own if I want to live on my own and just
Absolutely.
doing it. So when people moan and say, I can't, if I hear I can't do this because, like, well, even in group sessions, I'll be like, right, well, that's because you don't want it enough then.
Hmm.
In my very simple, no bullshit way, if you can't do it, you don't want it enough. And that's okay not to want it enough. And it's perfectly acceptable. I'm not going to force you to want to do something that you don't want to do. But let's not hide behind excuses. Let's just be like, no, I don't want to do it.
Hmm.
Like if you don't want to do your marketing or your strategy or do the hard stuff or show up for yourself or do the daily work to combat your doubt, then you just don't want it enough, and that's okay.
Well,
But
it's
if
all
you
okay.
want, say again.
No, it's all okay, but it's just the fact that people will say, well, how do they do that? Or I want this, or I want my life to look like that, or I want that income,
Yeah,
or I want that
yeah,
success, whatever that success looks like. Because nobody's telling anybody that success is a certain thing or a certain way. But they
no,
don't want to do the hard things, to do the things that make them become uncomfortable. And the minute you put that out to them, and then they're like, well, I can't do that today because of this. So they either accept it and accept, though, I'll need to come back to that in 3 months' time, 4 months' time, or I change something today and make that happen.
mm,
I know there's things that are much more difficult with the way my life is set up at the moment between the business and my children. So I either accept that those are the things, or if I want it that much, I change something to get it, or know that this is my age and stage and I can come back to it in 6 months, 12 months' time when something might have changed slightly. But you can still chase the things that you want, just in a different way, perhaps.
yeah, yeah. I think it's definitely about choosing. Like, we all have a choice, and again, I've spoken about this before. Where if people say, "I'm skin, I haven't got enough money," it's like, well, that's because if you don't say you're skin, just be like, I prioritize choosing to pay for other things because it's
Hmm.
actually a choice. You live in the home that you choose to live in. Like, we are in a very privileged, wonderful place. Like, if people say the bills are going up, but you're choosing to put the heating on, you
Hmm.
won't die if you don't put the heating on. It will be incredibly cold and you'll feel uncomfortable, but you're not going to die because you've got shelter and we are not in Antarctica. Like, it's like, you know, bringing it back, how empowering it is to have that choice. But what I should have said actually is the people that complain about stuff, there are obvious solutions and they still don't sort it out for
No,
themselves. And then they moan again about it. Nah, not here for that. I
no,
will
done.
I mean, even, to my clients, to my friends, if they're moaning about something they've come to me for help for, and then they're still moaning about the same thing and they haven't done what is the obvious solution, I'll go, I'm not here for that. That's a waste of my energy.
Yeah,
Don't talk to me about it. Because, you come to me once, I will help go over the top. If I'm giving you solutions or you've got the solutions, don't moan about it.
no, you don't want it. You don't want it. And yeah, the eating with the mouth open can
Oh,
go. I have to move. I
yeah.
have to move away from people. It's the house I was brought up in. Can't even. We weren't even allowed to blow our noses like in front of each other. We had to go
Wow.
to the bathroom. Yeah.
Might try that one. I don't want to hear everyone's snot. No, but like sometimes I don't realise my husband does it sometimes. But when we're sitting opposite each other at the table, don't notice. As soon as if we're like having a naughty dinner sitting on the sofa and he's onto the side, I'm like, what the frig is coming? Like that noise. Shut up! And literally, I'm just like that all the time. Like, stop it. So yeah, does my head in.
Yeah, and oranges. I don't even like peeling them for the kids because they've got a sudden fascination with them at the moment. Yeah, not for me.
No.
Okay, so if everybody on here wants to come and find you, find out more about you, see more about what you're about, where can they come and find you?
I love Instagram. I'm usually there. And my handle is I am Claire Hill. I've got a website, clairehill.uk. I've got loads of free stuff on there. clairehill.uk/free stuff.
All the
And I've
links
got
will be in the show notes as well. So everything that you've
yeah,
given me will all be in the show notes and be there.
yeah. And then my podcast.
Marvelous. Okay.
Yeah, I'm
And
about a bit everywhere really.
yeah, yeah, you don't need to look very hard. You don't need to look very hard. Right, before we finish up, before I let you go and get on with the rest of your Wednesday, I will be asking everybody at the end of the podcast, what joy do you want to leave behind?
I just want for people to believe that anything is possible. Like, I just love
That makes me
dreaming.
want to cry a wee bit.
Does it?
Yeah, gets me a wee bit emotional because I know you absolutely do.
Yeah. I just don't like people being held back because there's too much. This life we've got, it's just too special. And every single day we get the chance to feel magic, be our most vivid selves, because anything is possible. And so, yeah, that's what I dream. That's what I want to do. I do it every single day. I try and do it every single day.
Well, I think you're well on your way to leaving that behind. I don't doubt that for a second. Thank you so much for today. Thank you for being so generous, so open. I wouldn't expect anything else, but thank you so much, Claire.
Very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I'm sure you'll agree that Claire is such a shining example of what it means to show up authentically, embrace resilience, step into your brilliance, your warrior energy, and make joy a central part of the process. Before we wrap up, I would just like to let you know that there is a special offer to join the Joy Work Members Club at this precise moment in time. For December, if you join the Joy Work Club, you will get 31 days for free from the day that you sign up. It's such a great time to join the membership, and you could gain so much for the beginning of 2025. If you would like to know more, please go and press the link in the show notes. I would love to welcome you in to the Joy Work Members Club today. And I would like you to also think about something you could take away from today's conversation. What's one choice you could make today that would bring a little more joy into your work? Perhaps you could think about collaborating with someone, or reaching out to someone, or simply choosing to believe in yourself a little more. Whatever it is, take that step. You'll thank yourself for it. And if you would like to help me out, I want to remind you to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you're loving these episodes, leave a review or share the podcast with someone you think could use a little bit of joy in their life and work. Trust me, it makes all the difference. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Joy Work Show. Next week, we've got more insights and stories to share, so make sure you're subscribed and following along. And as always, remember, joy isn't the destination, it's the way we get here. Thank you so much. Go find your joy, and I'll see you soon.